Good evening. My name's Steve, and I started doing these streams almost every Sunday night at 8 just to vent, talk about things I find funny or whatnot. And today I have a few funny videos from TikTok or Twitter I found that just make me laugh, so I thought I'd talk about it. And and then we're going to get into some of Mehdi Hasan's tweets. He's a journalist at MSNBC, and the guy's terrible. Let me just do a quick check to make sure I am actually live here. Yep. All right. So we're good. So, yeah, I always start these off by poking fun at Kamala or Trump or Biden or whatever. So here's a little montage. I actually got two clips for Kamala. I can't help myself. I can't help it. The next clip is better than this one, but this one's pretty good. Let's see.
That's why we're here today. Because we have the ability to see what can be, unburdened by what has been, and then to make the possible actually happen. Have to believe in what can be, unburdened by what has been.
And we must always see who we can be, unburdened by who we have been.
So if you haven't caught on, she loves this line. And, this isn't as bad as the next one. But, a lot of these politicians have go-to things they like to talk about. But she just likes to talk about nonsense. This one actually, kind of makes sense. Forget about the past. Let's focus on what can be. That's not a terrible one. But it is funny how she's constantly saying this quote.
An ability to see what can be, unburdened by what has been.
What can be, unburdened by what has been. To see what can be, unburdened by what has been. We
funny.
see what can be, unburdened by what has been.
And if you haven't noticed, she's doing all these. One is on election night. This one's talking about infrastructure, and it's she'll use it and ram it into any speech about anything. It's funny.
Bring people to see what can be, unburdened by what has been.
To see what can be, unburdened by what has been. It is the ability to see what can
Asian
be,
Americans.
unburdened by what has been. That's
Pretty
why
funny. All right, so this next one, it's going to take me to. This one is great. I think this was in the past week.
the governor and we were all doing a tour of the library here and talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time when we think about a day in the life of our children.
Come on. There's great
Democracy
significance to the passage of time. Oh, man. This lady, she's something else. There's great significance to the passage of time. And when you think about it, there's great significance to the passage of time. Anyways, all right, on to some funny videos. Sometimes it's hard to tell if these are fake or, the stuff you see on TikTok. This one kind of seems genuine. And if it's not, he's, making fun of himself just for clicks. I mean, that's possible, right? But check this out.
Guess who's been paying off a car for 18 months of a 36-month lease and just found out what a car lease is?
Uh,
That is so much money to pay to rent a car for 36 months. Are you kidding me? Oh, how didn't you know? Didn't you read the contract? I did, and I didn't understand the contract.
Well, there's your problem.
No, it's checking what I sign. They were like, here's your car. And I was like, yippee. The only thing getting me through those payments was the idea that I was going to own it at the end.
So, if you haven't figured this out, he signed a 36-month lease and thought he was going to own it at the end of that lease. Boy, there is some stupid people out there. When he says a lot of money, I mean, normally those lease payments are significantly less than what you'd pay if you actually were to finance it. And definitely if your credit's not good. I mean, it's like how, first off, that's why it's so dumb. It's hard to believe it's real. I mean, the dealership or whoever he leased it from, they need to make sure that people understand what they're signing. My guess is they told him and he was just giddy about the entire experience. I don't know if this is his first car. He doesn't look that young. I mean, maybe he's in his late 20s or something, but it's like, how do you not know the difference between a lease and a loan? Holy smokes. These people vote, and there's days where it's kind of depressing thinking about how dumb people are.
Guess who?
I saw this. This has audio to it. I think it's some music video this guy was like streaming or something, but it was funny. You got to watch to the end. I'm going to mute part of this. This dude has a GoPro on a selfie stick type of thing, just cruising through the city, rollerblading, and he's going fairly fast here, going in and out of people, and
Nazi dread like Bob, so rock steady. With no spaghetti with me.
And then right here, he grabs onto a car like a buffoon. And now he's going pretty fast. You can see how fast those poles are going by. Hops on the sidewalk. Coast looks clear. Everything's going all right. Pop! Oh! This lady. Holy smokes, dude. He's lucky to be alive. He could have cracked his head on that. Oh, man. Or broken some ribs. Someone opened the car door. Oh, my gosh. It's just so crazy. And he sat right next to this lady like nothing happened. This lady's like, what just happened? So again, I don't know why there's music with this, or if he released this and it's part of a music video or something. I didn't do any research on it. I just thought it was pretty funny. People are crazy, man. All right, so we are going to get into some hot garbage from MSNBC host Mehdi Hasan. It's like, where do you start with this guy? So recently, and I'm not even covering this, but just as some background as to who this guy is. And this was kind of what put him on my radar, to be honest with you, because I don't watch MSNBC. Actually, I don't even watch TV. I watch a lot of YouTube and get my news from Twitter and people I follow, podcasts, etc., etc. So I have no interest in watching TV, but a lot of people do, and a lot of people listen to this guy. Well, he had on journalist Matt Taibbi, who was releasing the Twitter files, covering the complete censorship industrial complex, as they call it, with government essentially infiltrating media companies such as Twitter. But it's not exclusive to Twitter. I mean, they got their tentacles in everything. But Matt Taibbi released dozens and dozens and dozens of tweets or, stories essentially showing just how rampant this censorship is. And this guy, Mehdi, had Matt Taibbi on his show and called him out on errors he made. And one in particular was he used the wrong acronym for a government agency, CIS instead of CISA, which later turned out Matt Taibbi was right. But he ruthlessly mocked him and called out his credibility as a journalist. And all sorts of stuff. In fact, a congresswoman actually like called for him to be jailed because he lied and under oath in front of Congress when they gave testimony. Stirred up all this thing, all because this guy's such a dishonest piece of it. Anyways, he put out a tweet recently, which I'll get to in the next screen, but let's kind of watch this segment, and I'm going to kind of break it down because there truly was. So he put out a tweet, and in Twitter they have community notes, which is kind of like a decentralized fact-checking type of thing where a note will get placed below the tweet. Unlike Facebook, where they get fact-checked and then puts a note, and those fact-checks are ran by a corrupt government-affiliated organizations and that sort of thing. On Twitter, these community notes, as far as I can tell, is anyone can kind of contribute to it and that sort of thing, and then it gets rated if it was helpful or not. And from what I've seen, those community notes are fairly accurate. And it kind of raised a little bit of a stink. But they were two conflicting things, and I was like, wait, I need to get to the bottom of this. But anyways, I'll get into that detail in just a second, but let's watch this clip.
Muslim. I have fond memories of Bill Maher lecturing Muslims at the height of the Al-Qaeda and ISIS threats on the need for my community to condemn terrorism and speak out against the extremism in our midst, as if many of us Muslims weren't already doing that.
Now, first off, I'm not a Bill Maher fan. I don't watch his show either. I don't know what he was saying back then. Fine, whatever.
And as if Muslims were uniquely violent. Well, Maher is doing the same lazy, offensive routine.
Shootings are young black.
Oh, so I don't know what happened, but I think maybe my download did something weird, but this clip kind of like messed up and it kind of went right into the interview. So I apologize about that. I don't know. But
Men killing other young black men. Is that not correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Much more than what the cops do. Why doesn't anybody talk about that? Well, I mean, why aren't there, 100 giant black celebrities who would have the respect of those people saying, what are you doing to yourselves? Why are you killing each other?
This is no way to live. This dishonors our community. Come on. We're better than this.
Right. I feel like it's never addressed.
How many racist tropes can you fit into one Bill Maher clip?
Racist tropes? Anyways, let's hear him out.
First off, Chicago? Really? I mean, it's the predictable go-to criminal dystopia for right-wingers, but that's not the reality. Chicago isn't even in the top 10 or top 20 deadliest cities in America. It ranks below cities in red states like Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Columbus, Georgia.
So that part is true when you're looking at a rate per capita, meaning murders per 100,000 residents of a city. That part is true as far as I can tell. But the reason they bring up Chicago is because if you look in the actual number of murders, they are far and away number one. And I'll show you that in a second. But that's not even where the beef is at. I just kind of wanted to point that out. The reason people say Chicago is because it's, 50% more than even New York City.
And yet Chicago,
as far as number of murders,
with its majority-minority population and its progressive black mayor-elect, is the place that people like Bill Maher always want to talk about and fearmonger about. Wonder why. Second,
I wonder why. It's because they have the most murders.
Black people killing other black people, black-on-black crime. Are you kidding me? White people kill other white people at almost the same rate that black people kill other black people, and yet you never hear anyone.
He's like, are you kidding me? As if that's like a crazy concept. So this is where the dispute came in when he tweeted this out. But again, let me just finish this segment and I'll kind of break this down a little bit.
Complaining on TV about white-on-white crime. So these aren't points of sage wisdom from Maher. They're classic racist dog whistles.
It's such a pet peeve of mine to say that there's racist dog whistles when these are the only people that hear that dog whistle. What does that say?
Finally, there's Maher's canard. Why don't prominent black people speak out against black violence, like, say, Maher and his guest, the black conservative economist and podcaster Glenn Loury?
By the way, I've never heard of this guy, Glenn Loury. I've never heard of this guy, never seen him, doesn't even look familiar to me. So I don't know, maybe I'll check him out, but
feel like it's never addressed, he says in that clip. Well, aside from the typical double standards, aside from the why don't white leaders speak out against white child sex offenders or white serial killers or white domestic terrorists?
Domestic terrorists, really?
It's demonstrably and offensively wrong to suggest that black public figures aren't trying to tackle or condemn gun violence. Many have done so here on this show. I mean, does Bill Maher not know any black leaders? If he wants to hear from a black public figure about black violence, quote unquote, why doesn't he, I don't know, ask them? Maybe it's because
we know exactly what they would say. We get this rammed down our throats everywhere we turn. It's quite obvious what we're well aware of that side of things, right?
He can just ask Glenn Lowry, who will tell Maher what he wants to hear. Does Maher
No, it's an opposing point of view from everyone else.
even have access to Google, I wonder? Because black leaders have been speaking out and organizing against gun violence in their communities for years. Again and again and again.
Yeah, because they're all advocating for violations of the Second Amendment. They all want gun confiscations or new gun laws passed. I mean, again, we were well aware of these.
And again. As journalist Michael Harris
Moms Demand Action. What a garbage organization.
It said in a Twitter thread responding to the HBO host, when black people are doing something, I never see Bill Maher there. Fox News never shows up at the Stop the Violence march. He's right. That Bill Maher thinks black people aren't addressing gun violence in their communities tells you much more about Bill Maher than it tells you about black people.
Again, I'm not here to defend Bill Maher. He's a goofball too, but man, Mehdi Hasan is such an idiot. So, first off, this is the point I just made earlier, where Chicago, and again, this is in 2020, or actually not even the full year 2020, but there was 524 murders in Chicago compared to the same period in New York City was 305. So you're talking about a substantial number in the overall number of murders. So this is why people say Chicago, because every weekend there's like a dozen murders. Anyways, again, that's not even the point of this. So Mehdi Hasan put out this tweet and said, quote, white people kill other white people at almost the same rate black people kill other black people, and yet you never hear anyone complaining about white on white crime. These aren't points of sage wisdom for Maher. They are classic racist dog whistles. So stupid. So, and then he followed up and said, rates of white on white, black on black homicides are similar at around 80 to 90%. Overall, most homicides in the United States are intraracial, and the rates of white on white and black on white, black on black killings are similar. So on the first tweet, or maybe it was on this tweet. It was on this tweet, I think. This is the community notes that Twitter put on there. And it says, according to the 2019 FBI stats, there were 2,594 white-on-white homicides and 2,574 black-on-black homicides. In 2019, white population in the U.S. was 60% of the total population. Blacks were 12.2%. Thus, the per capita murder rate was much higher in the black-on-black group. So this is true based on, and I went to this link and just looked at it. And again, when Mehdi Hasan is saying in this previous tweet, let me go back to it. In this tweet, he says white people kill other white people at almost the same rate black people kill other black people. The distinction is, his point wasn't this, and he doesn't acknowledge this point. His point is, and then he linked to this article. His point is in fact, let's just read it. And this is where he's getting this 80 to 90%. not to get in the weeds, but I really had to like figure out why he was disagreeing with that community notes fact checks of sorts. So, between 1980 and 2008, the Justice Department found that 84% of white victims were killed by white offenders, and 93% of black victims were killed by black offenders. So this is the stat that Mehdi Hasan was saying. But when he says that there's a similar rate of murders between whites and blacks, you got to be clear on what you're actually saying, because my brain didn't go to this. I mean, sure, you know, I mean, that sounds reasonable or believable, right? But my brain went to what this was saying, is that the number of murders between black on black is higher per capita or as a rate versus white people, right? And again, not to get like bogged down, but I couldn't understand why Mehdi Hasan is like losing it over this community notes on Twitter. But again, I don't know what this is saying. I mean, no one talks about this because I mean, I get it. It's just saying, of the murders that have happened, white people kill white people and black people kill black people. But normally people are saying, hey, the black on black crime is higher as a per capita rate. So do with that what you will. But again, I think people need to be precise in what they're saying, especially when you're quoting statistics and stuff and numbers, because you can use statistics to, you know, prove anything you want in some way, shape, or form. So he was pretty kind of vague in that, and this is what he meant. But anyways, so that's that. Hopefully that made sense. And this is a chart right from that FBI website, and it kind of just shows, what he was saying. But, and oh man, I didn't include the time period on here, but for the same time period, there was more white victims of murder than black, but white people are 60% of the population and black people are 12 to 13% or what have you. So as a rate, it's higher, right? So do with that what you will. I'm just saying what the numbers are, you know. And then it's also funny because I just went and looked at Mehdi Hasan's Twitter just right before I hopped online here, and he goes, why do I have a blue check again, Twitter support? I did not pay for Twitter Blue. I've seen so many of these like leftist journalists and stuff like losing it because they have this blue check. And then I always see this meme. Just for the record, I have not subscribed to Twitter Blue and never will. It's like, okay. You know, but it's so funny. Now, to be fair, this whole verification thing on Twitter is goofy and it is a little confusing because, you know, I'll see like famous people and they don't have the blue check and you're like, oh, is that really them? So it kind of does lead to confusion. And beneath this tweet, he was saying that it's just like straight up not true because when you click on this, it tells you that he has subscribed to Twitter Blue. And he's saying he hasn't. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, this guy's a liar, so, you know, who knows, but he probably didn't. I mean, he probably didn't just because so many people have not, and they're all doing this in unison because they hate Elon Musk for whatever reason. But pretty funny. So anyways, that's enough about that. It's hot in this room. This room's above the garage, so I need to turn down the air. Anyways, a couple final stories I thought was funny. Apparently in Indianapolis, there's a city council member who, well, here, let's just get into it.
The councilman is coming out as transgender and a woman of color.
So the first part wasn't surprising. It was the second one. Hold on, let's go back.
A councilman is coming out as transgender and a woman of color.
She couldn't even. She was like reading the teleprompter, like, what? So, okay, sorry.
Delaware County Councilman Ryan Webb announced that he now identifies as an Indian American woman. Since
oh, shoot.
that announcement, he's received some support, but a lot of backlash. Many calling him childish, despicable, even calling for things like execution. In a statement,
Yes, a before and after picture. This guy rules. Who did that? Did he post this? Is this his name, Ryan Webb? Oh my gosh. I didn't catch that. Oh, this guy rules.
in a statement Webb gave to ITMate, he says, quote, "It is unfortunate that I cannot simply be given the same space and respect to explore my identity that so many of those targeting me demand for themselves. It's possible I may change my mind down the road. The process of identity exploration is complex, and oftentimes at the end of our personal journey, we end right back where we started."
He's like, hint, hint. This is temporary. Oh, it's so funny. Not only is he saying he's transgender, but he's saying he's a person of color, a woman of color. Oh, that is so funny.
Webb goes on to tell ITMate this is just his true, authentic self. The councilman is coming out as a transgender.
So I'm going to keep an eye on this story because it's just too good. This guy's the best.
Council.
All right. So there's this Whatever podcast, which I've never watched an episode of it. Really have no desire to be honest with you, but I do see clips on Twitter. And basically from what I gather, again, I haven't watched it, but from what I gather, the gist of their podcast is they get like 20-year-old hot college girls who don't know a thing about anything and kind of like make fun of them or, you know, put them on blast or talk about body counts and marriage or, you know, dating and not marriage, please. And, yeah, I don't know. It's just like not appealing to me in any way, shape, or form. You're not going to gain any intellectual stimulation of any new ideas. You're not going to learn anything. It's just mindless entertainment, which is fine. You know, every now and then I'm in the mood for mindless entertainment. Heck, what I'm covering right now is mindless entertainment, honestly. But listen, you see this picture on this screen right now.
Hi.
Are we going to address the elephant in the room? No pun intended. Well, maybe is a pun intended. We have a quiz here. One of these people is a transgender man. Or is it transgender woman? I don't know. I get that confused. A man dressed up as a woman. I don't know. It's a real who's who situation. But anyways, someone put this clip together and I again, it's kind of mean, but these girls put themselves and guys put themselves out there to be mocked for the world to see, and someone obviously edited this clip, but I couldn't stop laughing.
I'm Kiko. I'm 23. I go to UCSB and I also bartend.
Come on, people. Who did that? Who did that? Come on, that's not right. So I don't know what this person actually sounds like, but yeah, no, this is the podcast. This is what they do. They just get these girls and chat about whatever. I mean, I guess it works. They seem successful because I'm always seeing clips of theirs on Twitter. Anyways, maybe that was a little much, a little mean, but still funny. All right, the final thing for the day. On that same topic of transgender people, you just can't, everywhere you turn, it's in your face. I wish I could ignore it. I'm doing my best to not even talk about Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light and stuff. Although I do find that Bud Light backlash to be interesting and surprising, given that for the past, 3 to 5 years, all of this stuff's getting rammed down our throats, and all of a sudden it's Bud Light that, people cared about to the point where they are pushing back. And I think that's a good thing. Of course, Bud Light was never going to apologize about it or for that, but they should, but they're not. Yeah, they'll fire a person or two and then throw out some Clydesdale horses and wave an American flag and say, "Oh, USA rules," and stuff like that. But I don't drink beer anymore. I used to drink Bud Light, and Coors Light. But I really don't drink anymore. Very rarely. It's just not, I don't know. It's not what I do anymore. Anyways, I saw this clip. This clip gets worse as you watch it, but if it's not already obvious, this guy, and listen, I'm not a ballet fan, but apparently this guy threw on some tights and is trying to be a woman and took a role, I guess, away from a girl in this ballet thing. And there's like a side-by-side comparison of their dancing. Come on. This gets worse. Oh, Lord have mercy. What is happening in this world? What is happening in this world where people feel comfortable enough to throw on some tights and dance around pretending to be a woman? Listen, I don't know, man. This world's going crazy, dude. It's dead nuts. It's dead nuts. What can I say? Hey, listen, on another note, I may do some more, I may start doing some more Bible-related things. I was trying to read my Bible more, trying to learn more. Here's my mission to you. Read 1 Samuel. I just finished reading 1 Samuel, and I couldn't stop reading it. It's a great story, and it's fascinating, and it actually brought up some things that I need to, research. There's a part where King Saul goes to a medium to talk to Samuel, who has died, and Samuel talks to him, and I'm like, what? I don't remember that story. And you're like, wait, can people actually talk to the dead? I mean, that actually happened in the Bible. But anyways, see, I need to research that now. Anyways, fascinating stuff. I encourage you to read your Bible. That's all I got for you today. Hope you guys have a great evening, great week, and I will see you next week. Thanks. Bye.